how much taxes we pay, and so forth. Many times there are good people on the ballot who don't get elected because of undervoting. That is when people just vote for the candidates at the top of the ballot that they have seen on TV, and then they just skip the rest because they don't know anything about them. We're trying to remedy that tonight. We want you to vote based on information, and we want you to vote to the bottom of the ballot. Our format tonight is not a debate, it's a forum. Each candidate will speak for 4 minutes. We have a timer right down here. He will hold up a sign at 1 minute, and then he will hold up the red sign when your 4 minutes is up, and he has a bell that will ring him. You will have an opportunity to ask written questions, not oral ones. Please write them on a card, which our volunteers will walk around and offer you a card if you want it, and we also have pens. Please make your questions clear and brief. Because we have so many candidates and our time is limited, questions and answers will be at the end of the program, and the answers will be limited to 1 minute. This is a serious and civil meeting of American citizens who are doing their duty as citizens to make informed choices. It is not a rally. We ask that you remain quiet during these talks and not shout out comments. A very brief applause, no more than 5 seconds, will follow each speaker. We will acknowledge all of them at the end. And I would like to acknowledge all of them now for their courage and sense of responsibility to step forward and ask to serve you and our community. Let's give them a round. You received an agenda at the door. The officers are listed in alphabetical order. So Assessor is first and so on. I didn't alphabetize the right county. And you can see which ones are Democrats, which ones are Republicans. We will alternate which party goes first. So our first office to hear from is the County Assessor, and we will start with the Republican Party.
Martha and the Heather Gardens Democrat Party Club, thank you for hosting this event. My name is Bob Andrews. I'm running for Arapahoe County Assessor. The Assessor's Office values your property for tax purposes. The Assessor's Office is not a legislative office. Political affiliation should not matter in this race. I'm a Colorado native, have lived in Arapahoe County 47 years, and a homeowner of Heather Gardens. The average home sale here in Arapahoe County is $608,000. It is the third largest county in the state. The third largest county in the state has the third largest appraisal office with 63 full-time employees. The Assessor's Office generates almost half of the county's revenue. Why would we elect someone to manage the state's third largest appraisal office that generates almost half the county's revenue that has never appraised a property? I don't know what happened 4 years ago, but I do know the result. And that result is the assessor's budget has increased more than the last 3 assessors combined. I'll repeat that. The current assessor's budget increases are greater than the cumulative budget of the past 3 assessors. Earlier this month, my opponent stated he was the most qualified candidate in the state. That's a bold statement for a first-term assessor and somebody that's never appraised a property in his life. I've been appraising properties for 25 years and been selling for 40. The assessor's position is a full-time job that pays a 6-figure income and deserves to have somebody report to work more than 2 to 3 times a week, pre-COVID and post-COVID. Sure, my opponent is a realtor, but has only sold 15 homes in 17 years. I sell more than that a year. Per court documents, my opponent was terminated from the Colorado Department of Corrections for failure to report to work. Why would the state rehire somebody they determined should be terminated? And why, with all those degrees, would he be hired as a correction officer? While campaigning for assessor in 2014, my opponent answered the experience question with, "I'm a politician, not assessor." Given that he ran for city council twice, the state house twice, and now the assessor's office 3 times, that might be the most accurate statement he has made. My opponent's website talks about transparency and ethics. An ethics violation was filed for campaigning on government property, attempting to coerce employees for their vote. My opponent did not even have an appraiser's license until 2021 in December. I've had an appraiser's license since 1997. The current assessor distributes literature stating he provides tax relief to senior citizens and disabled veterans. The assessor's office does nothing more than provide the forms. Again, this is not a legislative position, and we do not determine if the Homestead Exemption Act is funded. As I've stated in this room before, I will advocate for an increase in the Homestead Exemption Act to keep up with the 20 years of inflation. I think it is highly unethical to run a private business on county property. Per the Colorado Secretary of State, my opponent receives auto broker mail at the county building. If you want an assessor that has actual appraisal experience and pledges to report to work every day, all day, vote for Bob Andrews this November. Thank you.
Our next speaker will be from the Democratic Party, our candidate for assessor and current assessor, Mr. P.K. Kaiser.
Thank you, Martha. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Martha. Thank you, Jim, and all Heather Garden, our Democrat Club, for putting this together. My name is P.K. Kaiser. I'm your current assessor, and I'm seeking rerun for this election. My opponent made several false claims about me. Those are all false, and I deny them. One of the main jobs of the assessor's office is to put a fair value on every single property in the county. And we want to make sure that taxpayers are very well aware of how the property taxation system works in county and in the state. And we also want to make sure that all the taxpayers are aware of their protest rights, and we help them if they want to exercise them. In Heather Garden, if you remember, prior to this COVID time, we've been bringing the camp from the assessor's office to facilitate your appeal rights. We put several camps here and provide you forms and information and everything you need to know about your property. And we also distributing the senior citizen exception forms. And when you filled it, we were taking it. We process senior citizen forms for the citizen and send to state for the tax exempts. So it starts from the assessor's office. We also facilitate the disabled veterans tax exempt forms as well. When we took office, the first assessment I saw, there was a huge line of protesters at the city building, county building. And all we can do was just to provide them chair to sit. I looked into it and I thought we deserve better. The taxpayer deserve better. So we made several process improvement things, and we provide too many innovation to the assessor's office, which brings a lot of change. Right now, we have digitalized all your notice of values. You can just scan your notice of value, you can go to the property, and you can file online appeal from there. We also provide the transparency map, where you can see how your property is changing over time as compared to your own property and the property in your neighborhood and properties all around the county. We are, at the Arapahoe County Assessor, we are innovator. We are process improvement leaders. We provide a lot of innovation to the assessor's office, which effectively increases efficiency, outreach, and accessibility to all the services assessor's office provide. One thing I want to emphasize is again true that my opponent is lowered my education. I have a MS degree in accounting. I have MS in economics. I have MBA in finance, and my PhD in economics is in progress. Gentlemen, I saw that the budget we increased a lot. No. Last 3 years, we are accepting zero increase, non-salary budget. One more correction to my opponent, we have a 64 staff at the office, and we are saving time and money every year. This is the job I like to go every day, and I would love to continue it. I'm respectfully asking for your vote and your support. Thank you.
Thank you. The next office up is Clerk and Recorder. For this pair, we will start with the Democratic candidate, and we do not have the Republican candidate here tonight, but Joan will still get 4 minutes.
Hello everyone, my name is Joan Lopez. I am the current Arapahoe County Clerk and Recorder, and I was elected in 2018. I'm a native of Colorado, and I've lived in Arapahoe County for most of my life. I graduated from Inglewood High, and I'm not telling you what year that was. I've worked for Arapahoe County for 21 years. As a community leader, I ran for this office to make change, and that I have done. Since being elected, my office has won 3 national awards. One for our curbside pickup to make voting safe during COVID-19. And we continue to do this service for the voter on the go and the disabled voter. So you can actually call our office and get a ballot delivered to your car without having any contact with anybody in the voting center. Number 2, we won the Savvy Award, which was for debunking false information on the internet and our social media channels. And 3, for expanding voter access at our Martin Luther King Library voting center, so Adams County and Arapahoe County residents can vote their local ballot. Before, we had to turn voters away, or just actually the only option they had was to vote a state ballot and not their local election. Since elected, I've broken turnout records and put in 7 drop boxes in just 1 year. Access is important to me, and it actually helps with turnout. Who knew? We have also translated voter instructions on how to sign up for ballot track, how to register to vote, and how to update your addresses in 6 different languages. And we will continue to add languages every year because of our much diverse county. There is much more to do, and I would be honored to serve you as your Clerk and Recorder for the next 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. The next office up is County Coroner. And this time we'll start with the Republican candidate, Ron Bouchard.
Thank you all so much for being here today. A little bit about myself. My name is Ron Bouchard, and when I bring it office of coroners, I'm going to represent the living and speak for the dead. I'm a research scientist of over 30 years. I'm on over 41 peer-reviewed scientific journals and publications surrounding cell death, toxicity, and diseases like Alzheimer's disease and Lou Gehrig's disease. I was a proud researcher working for our veterans at the VA Medical Center for 16 years, one of the proudest times of my life. What I want to bring to the Office of Coroner is actual science. We hear a lot about science, science, science. Well, that's what I want to bring to the Office of Coroner. We will not have a situation where someone reaches our office and is declared undetermined death. I want to bring to the table what's called molecular autopsies. These autopsies will be used to dial down and understand the exact causes of Susie, 28, died unexpectedly, found dead in her bed. We need to have transparency in this office. It's the last office you visit as a taxpayer, and you need to know it's being run with transparency. When I'm elected as coroner, my only job will be the coroner. I will work closely with the forensic pathologist to determine causes of death. I will not serve any other purpose than serving as your coroner. I will not have a secondary job or a tertiary job or duty outside the job of coroner. That's the only job and the only purpose I will serve my community. I'm a servant of the people, and I look forward to bringing the truth to family members seeking answers to loved ones who were lost. The second thing we're going to do is bring a stark attention to the fentanyl killing so many people, especially our children. In my journey as a Arapahoe County coroner candidate, I have talked with dozens and dozens of individuals in the death and dying industry, and it's clear that this problem is coming across the border, is being sent by the cartel to poison and kill our youth. We're at a critical time, just coming out of the pandemic and the lockdowns that have been affecting so many people. A lot of our young people are struck with depression, anxiety, and fear. And I think that a lot of this issue with the fentanyl that we're seeing is almost like a strange form of voyeurism or risk-taking that our youth is engaged in. I don't know if anyone's seen it. There's these new recent DEA drug bust. The pills actually look like tiny candies, or pink, blue, green, and yellow. This has got to stop. We've got to bring attention to these issues. When I'm elected as your coroner, we're going to have a page dedicated to addressing issues that are affecting our youth. Toxicity of these drugs is a problem. They don't even know what they're getting. They get a pill or something from someone they get at school, it's a death sentence. It's not something, I'm not condoning drug use, but what we need to understand is that our kids don't even know what they're getting. They take these pills and then they end up dead. So it's very critical and important role of the coroner's office to work with the high schools, educational system, teachers and family members to understand what these are causing to our youth and our families. Again, my name is Ron Bouchard. I'm running for Arapahoe County Coroner. I look forward to serving you, and God bless.
Thank you, Ron. Our next candidate for county coroner and our current county coroner, Kelly Lear, MD.
Good evening. Thank you all for being here tonight. My name is Dr. Kelly Lear. I started at the coroner's office 27 years ago when I was a medical student, so I've been actively involved in the office and the evolution of the office. I've been full-time for 18 years, and I was first elected coroner in 2014. Part of my passion, obviously, is making these medical decisions. We talk about medicine, we talk about science. I am actively involved in this daily and serving the community. We perform autopsies and we provide our data to all sorts of sources. So I am often meeting with the health department. I am often meeting with law enforcement. I am often meeting with students. I teach students from high school all the way up to medical school and pathology residents. We talk about the fentanyl overdose crisis. I've lectured to Littleton Public Schools, I've lectured to Cherry Creek Public Schools, and I have an engagement in the STEM school to talk about this with our young people. So my name is Dr. Kelly Lear. That's a little bit about my experience, how long I've been around. I've seen a lot of your faces at various things, so I would appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. The next office we will hear from is the county sheriff. And we will start with the Democratic side this time, our current sheriff, Tyler Brown.
Well, thank you, Martha. Thank you, Arapahoe County Democratic Party and Heather Gardens for putting this on. I also want to recognize our Jewish friends tonight, being Rosh Hashanah, so Shana Tova. Happy New Year to all of you, and thank you for taking time out of your day to come and listen to Democracy in Action. You know, one of the things that I'm most proud about is that I grew up here in Arapahoe County. I married someone who grew up in Arapahoe County, and I'm raising my children here in Arapahoe County. And I'm committed to the citizens of Arapahoe County. I want to make sure that my children have a safe community to live, work, grow up, and then come back and raise their family here and continue to give back. My wife's a school teacher in Cherry Creek schools, and our kids attend their school, and so it's something that I'm very passionate about, and it's something that I'll talk about here in a little bit. I just want to talk about the Office of Sheriff and some of the roles that we have. We run the county detention facility. The Arapahoe County Detention Facility has 1,458 beds. As of this morning, we had over 910 people in custody, and we continue to not only be the largest mental health provider in Arapahoe County, but we continue to be the largest substance use disorder treatment facility in Arapahoe County. And we're expanding upon that because this is what we've been asked to do. We didn't ask to be that mental health resource. We didn't ask to be the substance use disorder treatment facility, but that's what we are. And that's what we've been asked, and what we've been tasked with is to make sure that these people receive the services that they need. And so we're expanding our mental health services inside the detention facility from 70 hours a week to 170 hours a week. We're expanding our MAT services. When I took over as sheriff, we had a medicated assisted treatment program inside the detention facility where we continued people on their medications to deal with their opioid crisis. When I took over as sheriff, one of the things that we did was expand intake into that specific program. And now we're bridging people back into the community with those resources to help them deal with their opioid crisis. I talked a little bit about the jail and some of our accreditations. We're accredited nationally with the American Corrections Association, and the NCCH was the National Healthcare Association for Corrections Institutions. That leads me to our patrol functions as well. We're accredited nationally with CALEA, the accrediting body for law enforcement agencies, which has over 400 standards. I bring up those exact standards because we have gone above and beyond just being accredited. We're accredited with excellence. That puts us in the top 45 law enforcement agencies of almost 18,000 nationwide. And we're the first sheriff's office in the country's history to attain Triple Crown accreditation under 4 different sheriffs. 1 minute, 4 minutes is not enough. Can I have 4 more minutes? I love our sheriff's office. I'm going to go quick. So, dealing with some of the issues that we're talking about, fentanyl issues. The coroner and I have done joint podcasts together that you can find on YouTube and Facebook talking about fentanyl. I've gone down to the state legislature and I've gone against my party. It's hard to believe, but this is not a partisan race. This is about what's right for our community. And I've gone toe-to-toe with legislators, and they're in the room, and they're staring at me from the front and the back. But we've gone toe-to-toe. And that's what democracy is all about, is arguing the points that you think are correct. I've created a special investigations unit that's taken over 62,000 fentanyl pills off the street since the beginning of the year, $75,000 in cash, countless guns. We've created a full-time SWAT team that's attacking motor vehicle theft at the source. And those two things are combined. Drug usage and stolen vehicles are together, and we're going after it. And I'm asking for your support so I can continue the great work that we're doing, like therapy dogs in schools. She rang the bell, I gotta go. Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. Our next candidate is the Republican candidate for County Sheriff, Kevin Edling.
Good evening, and thank you, Martha, and the Heather Gardens Democratic Party, as well as all the Heather Gardens members. And thank you all for showing up tonight. I'm not going to talk to you about therapy dogs and what programs I'm going to use in the jail. I want to talk about 2 things that are not partisan: crime and your pocketbook. But before we get into that, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I am also in Colorado for the last 40 years. I served 32 years in the Colorado Air National Guard. Now, if I raise the hands, I'd like to see how many veterans do we have in the room. Raise your hands. Thank you, veterans, for your service. Now, I can't speak for all the veterans in the room, but I can speak for me. When I served in the military, I didn't look at the man or the woman next to me and say, hey, are you a Republican? Are you a Democrat? Are you unaffiliated? No, I just knew that was my brother or my sister serving in uniform beside me, and they had my back, and that's what mattered. 32 years in the Air Force, 19 years enlisted security police. Then I was fortunate enough to use my GI Bill. I have 3 degrees. One is Associates in Criminal Justice. I have an undergraduate degree in Professional Aeronautics from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, and I have a master's in education from Colorado State University. I believe that education and communication is so very important in law enforcement. I was fortunate enough to commission over to the dark side, become an officer, F-16 maintenance officer for 5 years, all 32 years here at Buckley Space Force Base now, and was the commander of the 140th Security Forces Squadron for the last 6 years. That's an honor of my lifetime. So complete circle on the military side, started off as the E1, 32 years later became the top and be a commander. Follow me over now to my civilian side. I became a civilian police officer, a deputy sheriff with the Weld County Sheriff's Office back in 1992. I did 2 years and 3 months in jail. No ma'am, not as an inmate, but as a correctional officer. And then I was hired by the Denver Police Department. I've been there for the last 27 years. 13 years as a sergeant, 9 years as a lieutenant. I'm currently a command officer employed with the Denver Police Department. And I'm retiring early at the tender age of 51 for one reason and one reason only. Every one of you in this room, including my lovely wife Stacy, Stegman in the back, wave your hand, honey. We all live in Arapahoe County, and I want to ensure that Arapahoe County does not turn into the next Denver. But unfortunately, it's already begun. Let's shift to what we're actually about for a sheriff. It's called law enforcement. That means enforcing the law. Right now, if you have not had your car stolen, or you have not read about somebody having their car stolen, or your children haven't had their car stolen, or your grandkids haven't had their car stolen, you know somebody that's had their car stolen, because we are #1 in Colorado for having your car stolen. And that has to stop. And that's 4 years under Sheriff Brown's reigns of that. What are we doing to the jail? His own 2021 Arapahoe County annual report said that the daily average of inmates in that bed that he talked about, that 1,050 plus beds, the average daily was less than half full, 700 inmates. Why do we have so much crime happening in Arapahoe County? I'm going to change it because I'm actually going to hold people accountable, and I'm going to lock them up, and I'm going to fill up our empty jail with criminals, which will actually make us safer. That's what I'm going to do. Thank you very much for that. Your pocketbook, coming down to that, you and I are all paying an extra $50 a month right now in auto insurance premiums because we are #1 in auto theft. Let's take the handcuffs off our police officers, off our deputies. We are separated by just a couple things, folks. What separates Tyler Brown and I is not the letter R or a D. What separates me and Tyler Brown is leadership and experience. I will bring my 32 plus years leading in the military, my 30 years of experience in law enforcement to clean up Arapahoe County and lead this agency to a safer Arapahoe County for all of us. Thank you so much for your time. I look forward to serving you all.
Thank you, Kevin. There was a little applause during that talk, and I'd ask you to refrain from that. We'll just applaud when they are done. And the 5th elected office for the county is county treasurer. I didn't hear from Marcia Berzins, and as far as I know, she's not here. Is that right? Okay, so the Democratic candidate for county treasurer is Michael Westerberg.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the invite first. Thank you everybody for being here. It's a pleasure. Thanks for coming out on a Wednesday, right? Tuesday, excuse me. That's what campaigns do to you. So we've been working crazy hard to get this thing done. My name is Michael Westerberg. I'm running to be your up next Arapahoe County Treasurer. I'm a tax attorney. That's what I do in my day job. So every day my clients trust me to give them sound financial advice. It's also what I'd like to do for the county. I've also spent the last 5 years on the Aurora Citizens Advisory Budget Committee. Okay, that's the council under council, right? that actually gives Aurora advice when they have too much money or not enough money at the end of the year. So I do have a long-range and short-range physical planning experience there as well. It's also something I'd like to bring to the county. Now, when you talk to county commissioners, the one thing they basically will tell you is there's just not enough money to go around to properly fund programs to properly serve Arapahoe County. That's you guys. So that's what we want to do. Now, generally, when you raise more revenue in the county, what does that mean? It means raising your property taxes, right? No thanks. I just bought a house 18 months ago. The last thing I want to see is property taxes go up. So we're not going to do that. So what do we do? When we look at two things. One, we want to look at our investments. Our investments have to absolutely be better. We're the oldest county and the third largest county. We have $63 million in our investments. Sounds like a lot of money. It's not when you consider those first two things. That dollar amount should be a lot higher. In fact, probably should be an extra zero on that, given our time as a county. There's not. We have to do better with our investments. Period. End of story. The second thing I want to look at is public enterprise. I would like to bring a county-owned bank into Arapahoe County. Currently, we're giving away interest to a large bank. That's interest that could be working for you. It could be in our pockets. It could be help going to programs we absolutely need at the county level. All that does not raise property taxes. All that gets us a better county. All of those things help fund some of the cool things you heard. If we put an extra tens of millions of dollars in our account, think of all the cool things we could be doing, or all the extra cool things we could be doing with the current county staff we have. So, I look forward to your questions. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it. Once again, my name is Mike Westerberg, and I'm running to be your Arapahoe County Treasurer.
Thank you, Michael. I want to pause for a minute. If you have some questions you've thought of you'd like to ask and you don't have a card to write it on, please raise your hand and we'll bring you a card. Nobody needs a card. Okay. I hope you come up with some good questions. Okay. The next office we're going to look at is an open office. We don't have an incumbent in this one because Nancy Jackson is term limited. And the Democratic candidate, even though Michael spoke first, he was also last in the last pairing. So we'll start with the Democratic candidate, Leslie Summey, for County Commissioner.
Good evening, everyone. How is everyone doing this evening? Wonderful, wonderful, and I hope you all can hear me okay. Wonderful. I'm Leslie Summey. I'm the Democratic candidate for Arapahoe County Commission, District 4. I am grateful to be here this evening. I'd like to tell you a little bit about me. I am actually from Colorado. I hear everybody saying they've been here forever. Well, I'm from Colorado. I grew up in Colorado Springs. And I am a veteran of the United States Navy. Any Navy veterans here? I am a retired Army spouse. Any retired Army spouses here? And I'm an Air Force child. So I grew up in the military. I enlisted in the military, and when I left the military, my job was in Washington, D.C. I was presidential support. I had a security clearance. Why in the world would I run for this office at this point? When I came to town, I told my husband, by the way, I told my husband, babe, I want to go back home. I don't want to retire on the East Coast. I want to go home. And here we are. We live in the home that my aunt and uncle built in 1973. I've been coming here since I was a child. And what I said I wanted to do was make a difference in the lives of my community. My children, I have 5 of them. They're from 27 to 17. We are about to be empty nesters. And I said, how can I continue to serve? I have been a strong advocate for my children, of course. I have one on the autism spectrum. I have some who are LGBTQ, and my goal has been to get them the best education I possibly could. What that looks like for every family is different, and what I have found along the way is that who sits at your board table matters. And so I spoke to Nancy Jackson a few years ago and said, tell me about your job, tell me what I need to know. And I went to learn what I needed to learn, and now I am ready to run for this seat. And what is important is that when you are thinking about your county budget, we know that Arapahoe County is one of the only counties, one of the very few counties in Colorado that has not debruced. Even Douglas County has debruced. So what that means is that there are millions of dollars that Arapahoe County could be using for resources. Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me speak a little softer. I'm sorry. So I get excited. So what that means is that we could be using money for services for our community, but we cannot do that. And so I would like to go ahead and debruce at this point and make sure that we have money to invest in the services that we need to invest in our community. Our new health department that we are starting now, we have to get that stood up. ARPA funds are not going to last forever. We need to get that stood up, and we need to make sure that our senior residents have everything they need from that health department from day one. That's January 1st, that we are no longer going to be a part of Tri-County. It will be Arapahoe County Health Department. So we need to do that. We need to make sure that the sandwich generation that I'm in, those taking care of senior parents and also having children, have the resources that they need to thrive in their community. We need to make sure that our kids have what they need to thrive so that they are not out on the streets doing things that they shouldn't be doing. And I am that person that will bring that to you. I know I also serve on a subcommittee of the Justice Coordinating Committee of the county, and that subcommittee focuses on racial equity in the criminal justice system. I've been doing that work. I'm the only person on that subcommittee who is not in an office, an agency, or an organization. I am a mother of children, a mother of 3 college graduates, one who's in college now and one who's on her way. I'm Leslie Summey. Your interests will be represented with me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Leslie. Our next speaker is Bob Roth, the Republican candidate for County Commissioner.
Well, good evening. My name is Bob Roth, and I'm a candidate for Commission District 4. I see a lot of familiar faces. I've spent a lot of time in Heather Gardens during my 9 years on Aurora City Council, and I've been on this stage a number of times over the years. So recently I was doing one of my favorite things in the world. I was spending some time with my 9-year-old grandson. And he came to me and he said, "Papa, can I go to my friend's house and knock on his door and see if he can play outside?" And I know his friend lives only 3 doors away, but I was hesitant to let him go by himself because of all the stuff that's going on in the world right now, all the stuff that's going on in Colorado. I walked to the end of the sidewalk, so I had eyeballs on him the entire time he was going there. We've got a crime tsunami going on right now, and we've allowed a small segment of society to grip our hearts with fear, and I'm tired of it. We have to do something about the crime in Arapahoe County, in Colorado, in Aurora. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm a 3rd-generation native Coloradan. There's one thing about me that very, very few people can ever say. I was born in Leadville, Colorado, the highest incorporated city in Colorado. Didn't stay there very long. Otherwise, I would have been a very slight child, being an altitude baby, but that didn't happen. I moved to Aurora in 1999, and I started volunteering in different citizen committees and boards almost from day one. I served on the Visitors Promotion Advisory Board, the Citizens Water Board, the Citizens Budget Board, and then I was elected to City Council and served 9 years on Aurora City Council. This is a job that I'm well equipped for. During my time on council, I served on numerous boards that were both local, regional, and statewide. I was on the executive board for the Colorado Municipal League. I was on the executive board for the Denver Regional Council of Governments, and I was a governor appointee to the Regional Air Quality Council. So I've got a lot of leadership skills, a lot of collaboration skills, a lot of knowing how to work with people who have all different views and and with a varied amount of experience and ideas. So again, I'm not going to probably take my whole 4 minutes. I just wanted to say once again, I'm Bob Roth, running for Arapahoe County Commissioner in District 4. I represented Heather Gardens for 9 years on council, and I would love to be able to represent you again at the county level. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. The next office we will hear from is State Representative for House District 41. This time we start with the Republican, Stephanie Hancock.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'll try not to talk too loud because I noticed some people had their fingers in their ears, so I don't want to hurt anybody. My name is Stephanie Hancock, and I am your candidate for Colorado House District 41. I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I'm a U.S. Air Force veteran. I've owned a small business, I'm an artist and a creative, and this is my first time running for office. I got tired of screaming at the TV, and I decided to be the change I wanted to see in the world. Let me ask you a couple of questions, and you don't have to say anything because I don't want anybody to get in trouble. Do you feel safer today than you did just 24 months ago? Last night I heard gunshots, and I just live down the road. I'm very concerned about that. In light of today's economy, do you think your grown children could ever move out of your basement? That was my issue. I had my son lived with me for 6 years because they could not afford a home of their own. Because we're being Californiaized. No disrespect to Californians, but people are coming in and they're buying homes and it's driving our prices up and it's becoming unaffordable. I'm concerned about the educational opportunities in our communities right now. Our kids are reading below grade level. They're being taught sex instead of science. They're being taught what to think instead of how to think. And legislatively, there's a lot we can do, and we're looking for opportunities and ways to change the paradigm. There is a lot of dysfunctionality and fighting going on, and we're not getting any work done. Folks, we have got to hold the people that we elect to represent us accountable. No one should assume that they have your vote. Remind them that they work for you, not the other way around. They have to earn your vote every single day. I've lived in the same house for 25 years. I have never heard from my representative at all. And that's not because I'm not in that person's party. Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, folks, you represent the entire community. And my commitment to you, is should you elect me to go downtown to represent you, is to let you know day one that I work at your good pleasure and I work for you. It is my commitment to let you know what's going on before it happens to you. I've discovered some things since I've been campaigning. I've walked and knocked on doors and I've asked people, do you feel like the folks downtown represent you? Do you feel like they care about your interest? 99% of the time I hear no. I hear frustration in people's voice. We want to be heard. You know, I'm retired, so I have lots of time, and I want to be able to serve and work for you as your representative downtown. It's important for us to put the partisanship and the wrangling and the feuding and the pettiness aside and work together. Our very lives are at stake. Let's not get stuck on silliness, and let's look at the crime, the affordability, and the education. Our future is at stake. You live long enough, someone young is going to be taking care of you. Do you want that person to know what they're doing? Absolutely you do, right? And so let's think about what our future holds and how we want to be represented in the world. And for me, I want to represent you. My job downtown is to work for you. I'm Stephanie Hancock. I'm your candidate for Colorado House District 41. You can visit me on my website, Stephanie Hancock, HD41. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Stephanie. All right, the next candidate we will hear from is our incumbent state rep for House District 41, Jodeh.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Jodeh, and I am your state representative for House District 41, which is here, so it's so good to see so many familiar faces. Before I start, I would be remiss if I did not recognize my predecessor, Senator Williams, as well as your senator, Senator Buckner here, so just a quick shout out to both of them. Yes, definitely. So I have lived in HD 41, specifically HD 41, for almost 40 years now. I am the product of the American dream. I'm the daughter of Palestinian immigrants and refugees, and they came here to seek their American dream. I'm also the product of public schools. I went to Ponderosa, Prairie, and Overland, and I continued that public education through my undergrad and grad as a trained political scientist. I'm really proud to represent HD 41, and it has been my honor, and it will continue to be my honor to be re-elected to represent you at the Capitol. But more so, not only downtown, every day in this community. We are there for 120 days, but outside of that, you still do not stop being my constituents, and I certainly don't stop being your representative, and that's important to me. Representing one of the most diverse districts also means that diversity matters, and that representation matters. I am the first Muslim and first Arab woman ever elected to the Colorado State Legislature, and I'm proud that people who may not have felt represented in the past, whether they share my identity or have felt marginalized, now feel like they are represented. When I came into the legislature, I did not have a caucus to join. There was no Muslim or Arab caucus, and so the Black Caucus adopted me. And the dean of our delegation, Senator Buckner, who's here, has really taken me under their wing, has really allowed me to align our values and our policy priorities for not just HD 41, but for everyone in Colorado. And we know that those issues in HD 41 are not exclusive to HD 41, and I want to talk about some of that track record. We know that healthcare can be out of reach, right? It is expensive. And so in my first term, I passed the Colorado option, the largest healthcare bill in Colorado history. This bill made sure that people of all backgrounds have access to sustainable, quality, affordable healthcare. We made sure, through another bill, that your prescription drugs will remain affordable at the pharmacy counter. And we also made sure that your medical debt will be forgiven when provided the option through an indigent care bill. Homelessness. Homelessness is an epidemic that is facing all of Colorado, and we are seeing it right here in HD 41. Last session, I passed a navigation campus bill that took $50 million of our ARPA funds to build a campus to make sure that our unhoused neighbors have shelter and will receive wraparound services like job training and mental health care. Housing. Housing can be out of reach, and it is a part of the American dream. So I made sure that rent cannot be increased more than one time in a 12-month consecutive period. I took evictions from 48 hours to 10 days, and I made sure that county governments and local governments can apply for grants if they have innovative housing solutions for affordable housing. Immigration. I established the Office of New Americans so that our newest neighbors can find a clearinghouse of all the resources they need to realize their American dream, just like my parents did. Friends, I'm asking for your vote. The work is not done, and we still have a lot to do. I'm hoping that you will send me back to the State House and that I can continue to represent you in HD 41. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. The next office we will hear from is State Board of Education, the member from Congressional District 6. We have an incumbent, the Democratic candidate, McClellan.
Thank you, Marty, and thank you everyone in Heather Gardens for being here. It's good to be back with you. I think our last visit was last spring, and I'm glad to be with you tonight. Jim and I, Jim, give a wave, he's in the front row here. Jim and I settled in Arapahoe County 25 years ago when we became homeowners here in what is now Centennial, but at that time was not yet a city. I'm really proud to have served 8 years on Centennial City Council, including one term as Mayor Pro Tem. Jim and I settled here in Arapahoe County in Centennial when he finished his service in the U.S. Marine Corps to come to work for United as a pilot. So I'm a proud former U.S. Marine Corps wife. And Jim and I raised our 2 children here in Arapahoe County, and they are both graduates of public schools in the Cherry Creek District. When I first started my service on the State Board of Education, they were both K-12 students. Our daughter graduated in 2016 and is still a public school student because she's studying medical school at CU Anschutz School of Medicine right down the street here in Aurora. Our son Hudson graduated in 2020 from high school and is studying commercial aviation to follow in his father's footsteps. So he's at Metro at their aviation and aerospace department. So we're very proud public school parents. During my time on Centennial Council, I served as the liaison to the Cherry Creek School District. I'm a graduate of Leadership Cherry Creek, a former PTCO executive officer. And during that time, I worked with local PTCO leaders across the district to develop a companion measure to exempt sales tax, to exempt school fundraisers from sales taxes. It sounds like a small thing, and financially, it wasn't a lot of money that got exempted, but for anyone who's ever tried to recruit a treasurer to your PTCO, or for anyone who's looked at what your PTCO might actually be paying for on your local public school campus, you may know it was a big deal to get that passed, and I want to thank former State Representative Joe Rice for passing the almost unanimous, missed it by 1 vote, almost unanimous bill in the State House to make that happen. And it really paved the way to make fundraising for your schools a whole lot easier. At our elementary school of Willow Creek, that money was used to hire our tech educators. So the person that was teaching computer literacy skills to our elementary students, that was funded by our PTCO and made much, much easier to do by virtue of those measures that Joe and I worked on. I'm very proud to have supported full-day kindergarten. I testified before the legislature on behalf of the State Board of Education. I am a legislative liaison for the State Board of Education. I have also served as our special education liaison, and I'm very proud to have worked with Co-Kids, the dyslexia advocacy organization, to make sure that as we implement the READ Act, we are offering evidence-based literacy instruction to boost growth and achievement for every student, including students with dyslexia. I'm extremely proud to have been selected as a 2017 Gates Fellow to the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. It was a very helpful course that has helped me in my leadership on the state board. I'm also happy to have championed successfully the targeting of our state ESSER funds for effective programs such as high impact tutoring to increase academic growth and achievement. I see that my time's up. I'm pleased to be back here with you tonight, and I'd be honored to have your vote for re-election to the State Board of Education. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rebecca. Do you have some? Okay, our last position that we're hearing from tonight is State Board of Education Member at Large. This is a... Sorry, I missed one. The Republican candidate for State Board of Education for CD6 is Molly Lamar, and I apologize.
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Thank you for coming out tonight. I'm really honored to be here. I'm Molly Lamar, and I'm running for the State Board of Education for Congressional District 6. I'm a Colorado native, like so many of the other folks up here. I grew up right across the bridge right there, and I'm a graduate of Cherry Creek Schools and the University of Colorado. I have an amazing husband, and we have 4 wonderful children that are all school-aged. In fact, we have children at each level of the education system. And I just want to say that I recognize that we live in a time where people can be very divided, but when it comes to our children, I'm finding that we all want the very best for them. Education, really, in my opinion, should be a nonpartisan issue because it should matter to all of us. Our children are our future, and we need to invest in their education. I'm a former teacher. I feel like I should move that a little bit. I'm a former teacher, and my mom was a teacher. My mom taught me a great public education system provides the opportunity for all students to learn the basic skills they need to read, write, do math, learn history, and think critically so that they can become productive members of our society. As I mentioned, I graduated from the University of Colorado. I became a licensed teacher and taught in a school with 100% free and reduced lunch students. What does that mean? It means every family's income qualified them for assistance paying for lunch. It means very few of my students came from families where their parents had a college education. And in this school, nearly all of the families also spoke a language other than English at home. I am bilingual in English and Spanish, and it has served me well, connecting with students, parents, and bridging that divide. Having taught in a Title I school, I know firsthand how challenging it can be to be in front of a classroom of students who don't have as many advantages as others. And I know how important it is that all students have access to high-quality instruction to provide for their foundation of success. The 3 principles that I'm running on are partnership, academics, and safety. As both a teacher and a mom, I know firsthand our teachers have been asked to do more and more in their classrooms, and many are being asked to teach things that are far from the foundational basics. I really want to help reestablish the partnership between parents and teachers. Parents are so important to a child's educational success. Academic achievement is my second platform, and nearly 60% of our students don't read or do math at grade level as measured by our state assessments. From my experience as a bilingual teacher at a Title I school, teaching our most at-risk students, I know our focus needs to be on literacy, math, and writing. And safety. Safety. Our children deserve to go to school and feel safe. We need to have, and in CD6, we have created some of the best practices in the country, and we should ensure they are used in every school. And often, just in closing, often local and state school board elections are overlooked and ignored. I hope that you all have become aware as to why electing representatives who put kids first is so important. My opponent has served on the board for 6 years, and during the term, we have seen a steady decline. It's time for a change. My name is Molly Lamar. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, as I started to say, before I forgot Molly, our last position we're going to hear from is the State Board of Education member at large. We do not have an incumbent for this position because it only happens once in a while. As you probably know, the recent census, Colorado had 7 congressional districts, but we now have 8. And if we have a State Board of Education from each of the 8 congressional districts, that gives us an even number. So we need an odd number so that decisions can be made. There won't be any blockages where there's an even vote. So this member at large, I have not heard from Dan Malloy, and I was not able to reach him. So we will hear from the Democratic candidate, Kathy Plomer.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kathy Plomer. I'm running for State Board of Education at Large. It's really nice to meet you. I generally start out my remarks with a little bit of background on the State Board of Education. I like to say I'm running for the most important seat no one's ever heard of. And it's true. I've been traveling around the state, and most people are not expecting to even see this on their ballot. Again, it's been a long time. It was explained already that currently the State Board is composed of 7 members, 1 for each congressional district. We have a new 8th congressional district, so this new 9th seat was created. And a little trivia, and I think audience participation is okay. Does anybody know who was the last at-large State Board of Education member? Jared Polis in the year 2000. So it's been 22 years since this seat has existed. The State Board of Education, for those of you who don't know what it does, is an important decision-making body. They're in charge of accrediting all of our public schools. They set academic standards. They choose the education commissioner. And so it's really important who sits on that state board. And the reason I'm running is I believe that Colorado should be the leader in public education in our nation. There's absolutely no reason we're not. We have one of the most educated populations. We have a strong economy. We have wonderful people who work in our schools and districts. We have parents who want to be part of their children's education. We have all the ingredients. We just need to make it happen, and we need that vision. And I would love to provide that. A little bit about me. I'm the mom of 3. My kids all graduated from public schools. My youngest is 21. He's at CSU right now. My kids all chose the college path, and I'm proud to say that they were ready and prepared by their public education to succeed. And I want that for every child in our state, no matter where they live, their income, their zip code. That is what we owe our kids. Education is too important to our democracy not to provide that, and it's too important to our kids who want to pursue their future and their dreams. And it's our job as adults and leaders to make sure they get that education. I know not every child will choose the college path, so I'm also a very big supporter of career and technical education and providing those workforce options so that kids early on know there are different paths to success and they know how to access them, and we are supporting that kind of education. More background. I started in education about 20 years ago when my first child started kindergarten. I got involved in the PTO like many folks did. I served on our district accountability committee, and then I ran for the school board. And this is all in Adams 12. Adams 12 is the 6th largest district in the state. It's very diverse. We have 52 schools, some with 80 to 90% free reduced lunch kids, some with 5 to 10%. So I've served on the ground level to understand the challenges that our districts face, what they're seeing in the classrooms, how they're addressing it, and I've been across the state listening to really creative solutions that people are trying all over. Again, we have incredible resources in our state. We have solutions that are made, that we're seeking to make sure every child gets that education they deserve and they can pursue the future of their choosing. I would love your support in this election. My name is Kathy Plomer, and I'm running for State Board of Education at large. Thank you.
Now let's have a big round of applause for all our candidates. Thank you. Let's relax a little minute while I get the questions, and then we can start on the questions. I want to acknowledge some of the people who are here. As the man said, our state senator, Janet Buckner, is here tonight. Our former senator and representative, Suzanne Williams, is here. Allison Coombs, our city council representative, is here. I don't think I've missed anybody.
They're continuing to roll in.
Okay, the questions are rolling in, so just relax a minute.
It's amazing how small those devices have come.
Yeah.
In the 80s, they're like this. the GoPro. These things, yeah, you can shake them. It's meant for sports. So like when you're skiing or you're whatever, you can record it, and you can shake it and it'll still seem like it's balanced.
Someday they'll be this big.
They already make them that big.
Really?
Yeah, they make them like, yeah. So you can secretly record. A friend of mine has one. I gotta get one of those so I can.
A launcher for the museum. That's one thing that we got in trouble for.
The people assisting here tonight going through the questions have put them in the order of the offices we heard from. So we will ask them in that order. A question for PK Kaiser. Please address the allegations about the assessor's license and the termination from that position that your opponent mentioned.
Thank you for the question I would ask. 15 years ago, I've been terminated from Department of Correction after 2.5 days. It was a religious discrimination. My ad valorem license allow me to do every kind of property in the Arapahoe County, or if any other assessor's office I should go. This license is much better than a level 1 appraisal license, where level 1 appraisal license cannot do anything with commercial properties, business properties, motels, hotels, office, vacant land, agriculture, where I have ability to do it. In the state of Colorado, if you look, all 62 assessors, 1/3 of them possess ad valorem license, 1/3 doesn't have any license, and 1/3 have a general contractor license. None of them has a appraisal fund license. Thank you.
I want to remind the candidates that we're limiting the answers to 1 minute. It looks like we're doing pretty well on time since a few of the candidates didn't show up. So. Okay, the next question is for Kelly Lear. I hear you held the top 2 jobs in the coroner's office and received both salaries. Can you explain the ethics of this?
So, I'm not exactly sure what that question is asking. I am the elected coroner and I am a forensic pathologist, so I do serve a dual role. Part of this is meeting the national standards, so it's the best practice to have the medical doctor making the medical decisions in the coroner's office. Arapahoe County has elected a forensic pathologist for 4 decades, so this is not something new. This is not a new arrangement. Multiple coroner's offices in the state do have a medical doctor, forensic pathologist, also serving as coroner, and by statute, I can receive salary commensurate with the performance of autopsies. So if somebody who is not a board-certified forensic pathologist were to be coroner, it would actually cost the county more money. That's because that person would be receiving their salary. They would also need to pay a pathologist to do my job. Thank you.
The next question is for Mr. Bouchard. As a non-forensic pathologist, how would you address the significant increase in cost of hiring additional pathologists to do the work you cannot do?
Thank you for that question. So to address that question, my job elected as coroner will be coroner. There are current staff members that perform autopsies. We have 2 on staff and Dr. Lear as well. So there is a crisis in the United States, a shortage of coroners, of forensic pathologists. I plan to serve the job as coroner as the overseer, the person who signs off on death certificates and takes that guidance from the forensic pathologist. My job will be coroner 100% of the time. I want to split my time doing anything other than that. and I will rely on our staff to work closely with me to determine those causes of death.
The next question is for the sheriff. 139% increase in auto theft in Arapahoe County. What steps will you take to improve this problem?
No, thank you for that question. And so if you pull up the data from the institute, it's going to come to me in a second. Our car thefts per 100,000 people per capita is only 38. We've had one of the smallest increases. One of the things that I've done since being sheriff is created the Office of Special Investigations, which goes after car thieves, as well as the Special Response Team, which is a group of full-time specially trained personnel that go out and attack this at the root level. One of the issues that we're seeing is that car thefts also involve drug usage. And that's part of that Special Investigations Unit's task, is to go after those reasons why people are stealing cars. One of the things that I've done, and I've been tasked with by my peers at the County Sheriffs of Colorado, is being the vice chair of the Legislative Committee and going down and advocating for things to change in state statute. Something that we're going to talk about is, my time is up, theft by receiving. We're going to be talking with our legislators about that down at the Capitol and making sure that we have the tools to make sure that we keep Colorado safe. Thank you.
That question was not to a particular candidate, so I will allow Kevin Edling to address the same question.
Well, thank you, Martha, and thank you for that question. When I was a rookie cop 30 years ago in Denver PD, we had a specialized person to take care of that car theft. It was called a police officer, not a SWAT team. I don't need a SWAT team to arrest car thieves. I actually had 2 cars, playing bumper cars, going down 6th Avenue as a young rookie cop, and they got into a chase, and we used to actually hold people accountable for their actions. I know we're not in the same spot as we were 30 years ago, but this is what I propose, and this is what I'm going to do as your next sheriff for Arapahoe County. We're going to do a tactical vehicle intervention, or a split approach. What does that mean? That means my deputies are not going to chase a stolen car at 7:30 in the morning when your kids are going to school. But at 3 o'clock in the morning, when you're all sleeping, and so hopefully will I be, and the deputy comes across a stolen car, they can immediately arrest a bad guy who stole a car and put them in jail and hold them accountable and prevent them from stealing the next car. That's the difference, folks. That's what leadership and experience brings. Kevin Edling for Arapahoe County Sheriff. Thank you.
Now another sheriff question, and so we'll let Kevin answer this first. Is it possible for the Arapahoe Sheriff's Office to work with the Aurora Police Department? Does one supersede the other?
So less than 60 seconds. The way your county works is Arapahoe County is 800 square miles. The Chief of Police of Aurora PD, Dan Oates, has authority inside Aurora. Sheriff Tyler Brown right now has the authority for the entire 800 square miles of Arapahoe County as a sheriff. So yes, they work on a daily basis, as I did as a different police officer with the Aurora police officers. The difference is this: we are being terrorized by car thieves right now in Arapahoe County. This sheriff pulled away your federal resource out of the Colorado Metro Auto Theft Task Force. While we're at a highlight, he pulled the detective out. I will not only put the detective back immediately, I will start an Arapahoe County Metro Auto Theft Task Force to stop this terrorism happening in Arapahoe County. Thank you.
We brought that detective back to Arapahoe County to do just that. That detective is working in Arapahoe County. That CMAT, the Colorado Metro Area Task Force, turned into the West Denver Lakewood Auto Theft Task Force, and they weren't investigating things in Arapahoe County, so we brought them back. My opponent talked about tactical vehicle interventions. All of our deputies are already trained in that. We have the ability to use it, and we do use it on a regular basis, and we do hold people accountable. We bring them to the county jail and we book them in. And so we will continue to do that. The reason that we have these specialized individuals that go after these specific car thieves is because they're trained to do that on a regular basis and not put innocent people in danger. They're able to pinch vehicles and get them stopped in a way.
People accountable to stick their budgets.
So one part is constitutional, right? Can't go over your budget. The other easy part is it's money, right? I mean, we all know what happens when you run out of money at the end of your checkbook, at the end of the month, right? There's no more money there. So that's the beautiful thing about the county is that money just frankly runs up sometimes. So yeah, you do have to have responsible individuals running these offices. But yeah, it would be incredibly hard to go past that budget. Number one, because you need county commissioner approval, right? To go over your budget. You're not going to get that.
Well, we're back to the sheriff's office. Some of these are hard to separate because there's more than one question on some of the cards. Okay, for Sheriff Brown, in view of recent school problems, are you going to continue the school resource officer program?
I'm back. Hi, welcome. No, we will continue the school resource officer program. Not only will we continue it, we'll continue to expand it. This gives me an opportunity to talk about therapy dogs, which we brought into schools. This is something new that we're trying. We're reaching students early on, and we're making sure that they have a positive interaction with law enforcement officers in their school. These officers are trained and equipped to make sure that our school days are safe, not only for students, but for educators as well. As I mentioned, my wife is a school teacher. I have a 4th grader and a 2nd grader, so I load them up in the car every morning and I send them to one of those buildings. So I will make sure that we are one of the safest, if not the safest school district in the country. We helped the Aurora Police Department by adding school resource officers when they didn't have the staffing to do so. I put 2 officers in Grandview High School, 2 officers in Smoky Hill High School, and 2 SROs in Cherokee Trails to make sure that our schools are safe. We'll continue to do that in a positive way.
This question is also specifically for Tyler Brown. Why is there no diversity, Black or Hispanic, on your command staff? Shouldn't your leadership team reflect the diversity of the community?
We do have diversity on our leadership team. Captain Lori Hollaba is the captain of the patrol division, and she's slated to be the next bureau chief at the Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office. She's going to run the patrol division, which oversees all patrol functions across the county to include the city of Centennial. We are continuously looking and promoting individuals of a diverse background to make sure that we have representation as well as the most qualified individuals for those positions. That's how they're selected at the Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office. I also kept a majority of the command staff that was under the previous sheriff. I found the sheriff's office in a great place. And so I let those leaders continue to lead the individuals that they had been leading previously. And I think that that has proven to be a successful transition. And I have received not only the endorsement of FOP Lodge 31, which is the 2nd largest lodge in the state of Colorado at the Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office. I've received the endorsement of the Aurora Police Department's FOP, Inglewood's FOP, and the state lodge's endorsement to be sheriff, and that's selected by the law enforcement officers that serve you each and every day.
Thank you. Now to keep things even, we have 2 for Kevin Edling. Okay, this question says, how does the sheriff keep the jail full?
That's pretty easy. We arrest bad guys, we put them in jail. Now, it's a low-level offense, like, I don't know, first-time drug use. Somebody had 7 plants instead of 6 marijuana plants. They deserve a personal reconnaissance bond. Give them a slap on the hand. How to make a bond with your people, right? Our DA, our elected district attorney, says don't do that again. And we let them out of jail. And as long as they abide by the terms of their probation, then they don't go back to jail. But the 125 leased auto thefts that we have working, not just in the Arapahoe area or the West Denver area, that steer cars all over the metro area, including Arapahoe County. That's where we're number 2 besides Denver. Speaking of auto theft, did you know that Sheriff Brown only made 14 arrests for auto theft held accountable in all of 2021 out of 685 cars stolen? That is not acceptable. He started off with a 7% clearance record, he's down to 2%. So don't buy the smoke about the SWAT team.
Please do not clap except at the end of the speech. Okay, the second question for Kevin Edling. We incarcerate more people than any nation on earth. Why do you believe that simply locking people up will reduce crime?
Incarceration over our year and our history has its, obviously, responsibility of society. If we want a society of law and order, there must be consequences for those that do not want to follow our society's laws. One of the reasons that we actually enforce those laws is by taking away people's freedoms. It's that simple. If we want law and order, then we must enforce it. And if we don't have consequences, you see what we have today. Do you feel safer in Arapahoe County than you did 4 years ago? If you feel safer, you should vote for Sheriff Tyler Brown. If you do not feel safer, like the thousands of people I've knocked on the doors, then I deserve your vote. It's time for a change. Thank you.
We have another question for the coroner's office. And again, it's not a specific candidate, so we'll have them both answered. We'll start with Kelly Lear. How do you determine cause of death in COVID cases?
So determining cause of death in COVID cases requires an extensive view into the person's history, into their autopsy findings, into the circumstances surrounding their death. So obviously we had a large increase in the number of deaths nationwide, but here in Arapahoe County we saw that as well. We had a huge increase in the number of deaths during the COVID pandemic. For those deaths that fall under the coroner's office, the protocol is to do our investigation, find out their medical history, find out their history preceding their demise, and perform an autopsy combined with COVID testing. It is my medical purpose to then interpret all of those findings. That requires medical training to put all of that together. Sometimes people do have COVID and die of other causes. Some people have COVID and other medical problems, and they still die of COVID. Some people don't have COVID and die of other reasons. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this question. It's a wonderful question. I'm going to bring science to the office of the coroner's office. So what we're going to do is deploy what's called molecular autopsies. We're going to use the $138 billion of sitting up there rotting COVID relief money to do these tests. These tests will test the nodal node of the heart, cerebral spinal fluid, tissue from key parts like bone marrow. We're going to look for spike protein in those tissues. This test is so accurate, it can show whether it was Wuhan 1, whether it was Omicron, whether it was spike protein from Moderna, Pfizer, or otherwise. We're going to dial down and find exactly what that person's protein profile was at the time of their death, that then determine what was that cause. If those proteins aren't showing up in any of the tissues, that person will not be classified as a COVID death.
The next question is for the clerk and recorder. How can you assure us that our vote counts? Can't we go back to precinct voting counting?
Thank you for the question. So the clerk and recorder's office has 24 hours security. We also do tours to make sure that you know the process. Just even knowing that our elections is safe is knowing the process and knowing our checks and balances. We have bipartisan teams, and I'm sorry, the second part of the question was what? What was the second part?
How can you assure us that our vote counts? Can't we go back to precinct voting?
So we do report precinct by precinct, but that's at the end of the election, and we do have that on our website. So we do report by precinct. Thank you.
Our county commissioner, size and cost of government in the county. Let's start with Bob Roth this time. With inflation, how are you going to reduce the size and cost of government in the county? Why doesn't she use the microphone?
One of the things that obviously has to be done is that the budget has to be very carefully looked at and analyzed. It is one of the primary functions of the county commissioners to set the budget for the county. One thing that a lot of people aren't aware of is out of 64 counties in Colorado, only 4 of them do not have a county manager. So Arapahoe County is by far the largest that does not have a county manager, so it's up to the county commissioners to run the day-to-day operations. So that's the biggest part of that responsibility and duty, is to understand the budget extremely well, work with staff, and work on reducing exactly the size of government.
I think you just did that so you could see how, like, the height difference. I think that's what that was. Well, Arapahoe County has a budget of approximately $450 million. What we also have is how different policies and different resources affect each community. And so that's what I believe we need to do with that $450 million budget.
I have another question for Bob Roth. In 2018, while you were still on the Aurora City Council, you opened a business that promised to, quote, open doors with a vast network in the public and private sector. In vertical and horizontal development, we can open doors that have not been available previously. Legislative assistance, engage civic executives and elected officials on behalf of clients for development projects. Your current website states, opening doors for a select group of clients, providing opportunities previously unavailable. Don't you see this as a conflict of interest for someone holding public office?
That's quite a mouthful. First of all, I want to make clear that my consulting business was me and me alone, pretty much. My daughter helped out with some administrative duties, but I never had more than 2 or 3 clients. I will tell you right now that when I built that website, or when I had the website built and I chose the verbiage, I probably didn't choose verbiage very well, because that is not what I intended to say. What I intended to say was that my resources of, primarily through Associated General Contractors of Colorado and Associated Builders and Contractors, that I was on different association boards. That was more my ability to network and get people in front of end users and decision makers, not my elected position.
The next question is for Rep. Jodeh. Why do you want to get rid of Tabor?
I really appreciate this question. So for a few reasons, I think Tabor has put a chokehold on our public schools. I think we are doing a disservice to our students, and we are not nurturing them and setting them up for success as much as we could be. The other thing I like to say about why we should dismantle Tabor is because we own the roads, we own our parks, we own our bridges, and if we cannot lean on our taxes to maintain those things and our civil services, then we as citizens of Colorado are only paying the price for not leaning on taxes to actually take care of our state.
The next question is for Stephanie Hancock. I hope you can get this in 1 minute. What are your positions on issues? I know what our current problems are.
Who asked that?
Okay. Crime. I believe we should strengthen our police department so they can do the job that we hired them to do. The defunding police movement was a debacle and it's hurting us, and I'm concerned that we're not being taken care of. 2, our economy. We need to attract people to this community that will fund high-paying jobs so that we can afford homes. You know, remember when you got your first job at McDonald's and it was like $8 an hour? And then you went, now you push the kiosk, they got 5 guys working in the kitchen and nobody at the counter. Where are these kids working? Where's their first job? You know, they don't get it anymore, so they turn to criminality. When they turn to criminality, they go to the criminal justice system, and then they're in that system. We don't want that. We need to, again, give them other opportunities to do diverse opportunities for job skills, trades. Not everybody's college bound. My daughter is a chef, my son's a barber. So, I mean, give them those opportunities. Education. I intend to hold people accountable as much as we can for making sure that we support our teachers, first of all, and parents. Parents are the first educators of our kids. They're the consumers, and we should empower parents and give them the opportunity to direct their kids' education. Crime, affordability, education. Those are my platforms. That's what I want to do. I'm not shucking and jiving. I am a real person who has kids, who has had a job, and I want to work for you.
The next 3 questions are all addressed to Rebecca McClellan, but when she's done, maybe we could give Molly the chance to respond. Okay, these are the 3 questions. What is your proudest achievement in education? Another one, you have been quoted on the record stating that you want comprehensive sex education for K-12. Why do you feel our youngest and most vulnerable children need to be learning about sex? And the 3rd question is, I'm a fan of charter schools. Why aren't you?
Something for everyone. Okay, so my proudest educational achievement is with Jim and I guiding our children through their educational journeys. But on the State Board of Education, I would have to say standing up for full-day kindergarten tops the list, and the successful advocacy for using our Assessor funds for high-impact tutoring, as well as supporting the implementation of the READ Act. Those are a few of my proud achievements on the State Board of Education. Okay, now what was the second one? Yes, comprehensive sex education for K-12 kids. Obviously, I do not believe that every age is age appropriate for comprehensive sex education. The sex ed bill that I did support required scientifically accurate information. And for example, although it absolutely can include education about the value of abstinence, and should, you can't simply just teach abstinence only and call it sex education. It has to be comprehensive and based on scientific facts. And that 3rd question? Okay, thanks Martha. Thanks Martha. Charter schools. My voting record is pretty darn even-handed. Right here in Aurora, I've supported Vega when the Aurora Public Schools came before us to shut Vega down. I've had a number of decisions, DSST, when they needed to have their students go on to the next step, and Denver Public Schools was not allowing that to go forward. I looked at the record and saw that the good work that DSST was doing, and with their good track record, and cited on behalf of the charter applicants. So we are required in these quasi-judicial matters to use the facts that are on the record for each case and to hear each case fairly. So I have not come down just on one side or the other. My decisions have gone both ways because I'm always looking at whether or not it is in the best interests of the community, which is the standard that we are legally held to. So thank you for the question. I'm glad to have a chance to speak to it. Thank you.
Next, I think we should hear from Molly on the question of sex education and charter schools, and then we'll hear from Kathy Plomer also.
So as a kindergarten and first grade teacher, my proudest educational moment is teaching children how to read. Literacy is so important, and when you see a child who is struggling with school and they learn how to read, they stand 4 inches taller. It is the neatest accomplishment. So that's my proudest moment. There were lots of them, but then in terms of the comprehensive sex education, we really need to work hard to protect our children and their innocence. Parents need to have know what their children are being taught in schools. They need to be part of the conversation, and it needs to be transparent. Our parents need to be partners. As a teacher, the most valuable person to me was the parent of my students, because I could call them and say, this child is struggling, what have you. So I think that comprehensive sex education has no business in our schools with kindergarten through 3rd grade, especially. Kindergartners don't know how to spell sex. They should certainly not be discussing it in school, and we need to protect them. And then the third question? Oh, charter schools. So Rebecca, with all due respect, you have voted 70% of the time against charter schools, including Sky Academy in our own Cherry Creek School District, and you are the only board member on the State Board of Education to vote against that. Parents in the Cherry Creek School District proposed that school because it specializes in flight and STEM, and the children there are thriving. As a former bilingual kindergarten and first grade teacher in a Title I school, educational choice is really important, and if your neighborhood school is not performing, you should be able to find a school that works for you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. That's the best question. So my greatest educational, what I'm most proud of, is my work in Adams 12. I started on the board in 2013. It was very divided. The district had made about $72 million in budget cuts, and the community was really reeling, and there was a lack of trust. So when I came on the board, my job was really to re-engage the community in what the school district was doing and re-engage that trust. During the 8 years I was on the board, we went from 8 schools who were in either improvement or priority improvement to 1. In the 10 years previous, I'm not taking all the credit because it's all the hard work of the teachers, but it's partnership with board leadership, parents, and district leadership. Our graduation rate rose 15%. Our graduation rate, again, those are kids out in the world ready to work, ready to be great citizens. So the work that we did in Adams 12 to increase career and tech education opportunities, to increase graduation rates, and to be one of the #1 growth districts in the state was really something I'm proud of. Now we go to comprehensive sex ed. So if you look at comprehensive sex ed curriculum, they are designed to build on each other. So in K-3, you're learning about things like brushing your teeth. It's really comprehensive health education. You're learning about hygiene. You're learning about body parts. So when districts choose a curriculum, they look at the whole thing. Generally, if you choose an evidence-based curriculum, parents do know what's being taught in the classroom. They get a chance to look at the curriculum. They can decide if their kids want to do different lessons. I believe that kids need to be taught facts. They need to learn about their bodies. They need to learn about puberty. They need to learn about healthy relationships, and that we can do it in an age-appropriate way where kids can ask questions and start actually dialogues at home about what it means. I think Again, abstinence-based factual comprehensive sex education that's decided on the district level in the curriculum is beneficial to students. Charter schools. We know all of our kids learn differently. We know that our districts provide many different choice options. There are magnet schools, there are public funded charter schools, there are neighborhood schools, there are innovation schools. And I think it's really important, the most important thing about charters is that they are open and serve all different kids. All of our choice options need to provide a quality public education to whoever walks through the door. So I think the initial question implied a for or against. I'm for every option being a quality option for our kids.
That's all our questions tonight. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you for listening. And remember, when you get your ballot, vote all the way down to the bottom. If you're interested in hearing discussion on the issues that will be on the ballot, there's about 11 of them. Our next Democratic Club meeting will be October 25th, and we will be discussing those issues with some experts. So you're welcome to come to that. Thank you for coming tonight.